/instant.
Okay, so you can go to that QR code, or you can go to epicpitch.com/instant. Let me put the QR code back up again, just make sure everybody has it. Let me know when you guys got it. I'll give you all a second. You got it? All right. I'm gonna walk you all through this. Ain't nobody leaving here without a pitch. Ain't gonna happen. All right. It is not gonna happen. Not on my watch. Okay. All right. So, like I said, when you do it this way, if you guys want to have a phone call because it makes you, if you guys want to call your client, you can. Or what I like, I have Stephanie. Stephanie's like my right-hand woman. And so sometimes she'll reach out because she has to onboard them anyway. So if you have like a right-hand person, that's fine too. Or if you want to, you can, but you don't need to. It's not required. Okay. So let's hop into this. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so this is the instant pitch formula. So this is how this works. Let me read it, and then I'll explain what it is, because we have an element key, and then we have the actual pitch. So let me go in here. So, whoops. So first, you call out the audience. Are you an audience that has problem and is frustrated that you may experience consequences if you don't fix it? How would it feel to solve problem? That's call out the audience. 2, challenge their thinking. Now, you may think you need old path, but the real root of your problem is root of the problem, which is why new path is better, and here is why. That's challenging their thinking. Number 3, filter your customer and explain how you can help. If you have these 3 characteristics, we can help you with this by doing these 3 things for a quick win. Tell them what you want them to do next, do this thing. So the audience is your target customer. Has problem is the main problem that will go away after working with you. Experience consequences. The main problem, oh, I messed that up. Did I mess that up? I did. That's a typo. Whoops, that's my bad. That's supposed to say the result of the problem not going away. Joe, can we have that edited real quick? It just needs to say the result, the result of the problem not going away, right there. And then just let me know when it's done, and you guys.
The result of the problem that will go away after working with you.
No, right here. Experience consequences. The result of the problem not going away.
The result of the problem not going away.
Yeah. We threw this together for you guys quick after I read the survey, so that's why there's a typo. I apologize. We'll get it updated. You know what? Let's just get it updated and post it in the group. How about that? Yeah, okay, let's do that. All right. Solve problem. What the world looks like with the problem gone, the goal achieved, and what that feels like. Old path. The method they are already trying to solve the problem that is not working or that they just don't want to do. The root of the problem is the explanation of the big idea, the overall source of why this problem exists. The new path is the new method that will solve the problem without taking the old path. Here is why. Your origin story on how you found the new path. This can also be an analogy, thought experiment, or story from history. 3 characteristics. 3 qualities your prospect must have to be considered qualified. If you sell houses, or if you sell refinances, you can't sell a refinance to someone unless they own a house, so they must be a homeowner. That's all that means, right? Just 3 characteristics, period. You know, if you're a CPA and you want to help, high-end earners save taxes, you say, okay, if you're making at least $100,000 or more, or if you've paid at least $50,000 in taxes last year, I can help you. Just a very clear quality. And then you say, if you're a US citizen, if you paid more than $50,000 in taxes last year, and you could even say, if you want to pay less, I can help you, right? 3 things you can do for the quick win. Now, these are 3 things you can do to get them a fast result while they wait for the main result, okay? So what I like to do is I always like to have a quick win. For instance, when I pitched and explained Epic Pitch Master yesterday, I said, look, it's going to take some time to build your actual presentation, but right at the beginning, we're going to get clear on your offer. We're going to get clear on your message, and we're going to build you an offer explanation page that you can show to clients and make sales now. So you always want to front load what you do, even if it's, look, let's say you're a doctor, right? Let's say you're a doctor. Like my doctor, when I went into him, the first thing he did was test my body fat. And he's like, listen, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test your body fat. I'm at least going to tell you where you are at and how much muscle mass you is. So just that was great. I was just like, okay, well, I just want to know where I'm at. So though small, getting someone a quick win is important. You don't want to make them wait. For instance, if you're a tax person, hey, I'll review your tax return and I'll tell you exactly how much you could save, right? Or we're going to go ahead and quickly implement this one tax strategy immediately so that you can see a savings right away. Do you hire your kids? No, you don't hire your kids. Well, you get a $14,000 tax deduction if you hire your kids. Let's do that next week. Let's do that now. Boom. Oh, wow, I just got a $14,000 tax credit. And I literally just got started with this person. Always give them a quick win, always. If you can do 3 quick wins or you can explain it in 3 ways, that's great. People think in 3s. Call to action is just your next step, all right? Your next step. That's it. All you have to do is fill in the blanks. Are you a new mom that has gained the baby weight and you're frustrated that you may never look like you did before you have the baby? How would it feel to not only look like you did before, but look even better? Now, you may think that you need restrictive diets or hours in the gym, but the real root of your problem is that your hormones are out of whack since you had the baby, which is why intermittent fasting is the real way to fix this, because not only does it help you lose weight, but it rebalances your, I don't know if that's true, I'm just saying, it rebalances your hormones, and here's why. Back when I had my first kid, blah, 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 intermittent fasting, blah, 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 it turned my life around, blah, 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 blah. And that's how I discovered that the new path is intermittent fasting. Now, if you have kids, if you're unhappy with the weight you've gained and you're willing to try something new and hold yourself accountable, then we can help you. First thing we're going to do is we're going to develop you an intermittent fasting schedule and diet. Next thing we're going to do is you're going to download our easy cheat sheet for this. And the third thing we're going to do is you're going to hop on your very first accountability call. And every single day you get a 10-minute accountability call with our coaches or week or whatever to check in and make sure that you've committed to your fast. Because if you commit to yourself, that's one thing. But if you commit to our accountability coaches, we're going to hold you to a higher standard than you do yourself. We want you to look amazing. Now, if you want to learn more about that, go ahead and click the link below and book a call. Go ahead and attend our this. Go ahead and comment this word. Go ahead and buy this thing, whatever. Okay? Did that all make sense? Janine says this is amazing. Yeah, okay, okay. There you go. There's your pitch, done. All right. Now listen, I'm gonna glue. Yes, Jonathan. Oh my gosh, Jonathan, thank you so much for saying that. Dan, so if I'm understanding this correctly, this all stems from the RMS. Yes, guys, your refined marketing statement is the nucleus. It's the seed that creates the instant pitch. Then you make it even better with all the cool stuff I taught you day 1, day 2, and some really cool stuff for day 3. And then you turn it into a production, which is this simply 2 Google Docs, your workbook Google Doc for the people and your lesson plan Google Doc. You hop on Zoom, you do the thing, you close them over text, or you can do this in person if you want. Boom, shakalaka, laka, 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 laka. Done. Okay? All right. So I'm glad that helped. Now, before we get started, I want to teach you guys a principle. So, yeah, we'll get access to that document. We'll post it in the group. I gotta update a typo. All right. So, first of all, how many of you here, and I want you to be honest with me, you're still a little nervous about doing paid presentations. Maybe you don't think you'll be able to do it. Maybe you don't think you're good enough. Maybe you have some insecurities around it. Does anybody feel that way? Okay. All right. Watch this. Guys, say I am if you're somebody that hires employees. Say I am if you're somebody that hires employees. I am. Okay, real quick question. Can you name me a quality, just a quality, a characteristic of a human, a human quality that you would look for in an employee, and a really great employee? Give me a quality that you would look for. Honesty. Okay, so I see honesty. All right, honesty. Honesty. All right, whoa, he's going fast. Hold on. Accountability, passion. Accountability, passion. All right. A lot of honesties. Okay. Great personality. Okay, fine. Personality. Okay. Personality. Work ethic. That's great too. Work ethic. Okay, work ethic. Resourcefulness. Hold on, let me do this here. Resourcefulness. Okay, what else? Enthusiasm. I ran out of space here. Enthusiasm. All right. What else? Initiative. I'll write that up at the top. Initiative. Okay. Integrity. Integrity. What else? Positivity. Discipline. I saw discipline. Loyalty. All right, that's a lot. We got a lot. Communicator, great communicator. Okay, now, real quick. I didn't come up with any of these, you guys did. So real quickly, initiative, is that an attitude or a skill? Is that an attitude or skill? Having initiative. Attitude. Okay, I'm gonna do A or S. So that's an attitude. Honesty, is that an attitude or a skill? Attitude. Okay. Accountability, is that an attitude or a skill? Attitude. Okay. Passion, is that an attitude or a skill? It's an attitude, right? Personality, attitude or a skill? That's an attitude. Okay. Work ethic, attitude or a skill? A, right. Resourcefulness and enthusiasm, those attitudes or skills? Of course, attitudes. Attitudes. Integrity, attitude or skill? Attitude, positivity, attitude, discipline, attitude, loyalty, attitude. What about communicator? Attitude or skill? That's a skill. Of course it is. Okay, that's a skill. Okay, now, quick question. If you had an employee that had great initiative, who was honest, who was accountable, who was passionate, who had a great personality, work ethic, he was resourceful, they were enthusiastic, they had integrity, they had positivity, discipline, loyalty, and they were a good communicator, do you think that would make a one hell of an employee? Yes? That would make one hell, okay. Now, flip it around. For those of you that work for companies that have bosses, if your boss had initiative, he was honest, he was accountable, he was passionate, he had great personality, work ethic, resourcefulness, enthusiasm, great communicator, integrity, positivity, discipline, would that make a great boss? Would that make a great boss? Yes. What about a father? If a father had initiative, honesty, accountability, precision, personality, work ethic, resourcefulness, enthusiasm, great communicator, loyalty, discipline, positivity, would that make a great father? Yes. Would it make a great mother? Would it make a great president? Would it make a great doctor? Would it make, pick whatever you want. Yes? So what you're telling me is that if you have these qualities, it'll make you great at literally anything in life. Is that what you're telling me? Okay. Now look at the board. How many of these are attitudes and how many of them are skills? 90% of these are attitudes, more than 90%. So what you're telling me is that most of what makes you successful in life is your attitude. And if you have just a wee little bit of skill, but you have the right attitude, you can be successful at anything. Is that what you're telling me? It sounds like that's what you're telling me. Okay, I was just making sure. So here's the thing. We need two beliefs here, all right? Two beliefs. If you believe that I can teach you this wee little old skill, if I believe you can bring the right attitude, then I think we both believe that we can make something great happen. And if that's the case, I think you should apply for Epic Pitch Mastery. If that's not the case, I think you shouldn't. That's all I'll say about that. Okay? All right. Let's jump in. Okay, let's go. Let's go. You ready? You ready? You ready? All right. So, let's learn 10 years worth of persuasion secrets in just 20 minutes. How would you guys like that? All right. So, what if I told you right now in this room, you're sitting on a gold mine of persuasion secrets that took me a decade and millions of dollars to discover? Probably more than a decade. All right. Oh, by the way, guys, if you need the workbook for day 3, it's here. Let me write that on the board real quick.
I also just put it in the chat.
Yeah.
epicpitch.com/workbook-3.
Yeah, epicpitch.com/workbook-3, because we're getting into the workbook now. All right, all right. All
There's
right.
that genius handwriting again.
Yeah, I've just looked at that in the Zoom window. Wow, that's terrible. Okay. In 2008, a young marketer named Gary Vaynerchuk took his family's $3 million wine business and turned it into a $60 million empire in just 5 years. His secret wasn't just hard work, it was his obsessive study over persuasion. I bet you guys don't know this about Gary. He literally obsessed over QVC presentations, HSN. He watched every QVC and HSN presentation you could possibly imagine. He watched, you know, the ones where they have them call in and buy the stuff. He studied all of them. And he took notes on all of them. I mean, he studied tones, story arcs, pause shifts, everything. And today, that same passion for studying persuasion has helped him build a media empire worth over $200 million. Now, look, I do not have the same success as Gary Vaynerchuk. I haven't made 200 million, 32, which looks like about 33 now. That's pretty good for me. I used to deliver pizza. Let me put it this way, okay? So, y'all, I'm a big science guy. I like science. So when Newton, this is my attempt at an apple, but it kind of looks like Batman. When he discovered, what did Newton discover? What do I write here? What did Newton discover? Gravity, right. Newton discovered gravity, okay? Now gravity, for those of you nerds out there, is actually F equals G m to the first power. This is why I have a workbook, by the way. M to the second power divided by over R2, whatever that is, okay? That's gravity. That's the formula for gravity, okay? There it is, right there, in case you were wondering. Now see, what I discovered, was how to do this. Okay? He didn't invent gravity. He discovered and documented its laws. Now, I have not invented these persuasion techniques. I've simply documented the laws that have always governed human influence. And just like gravity works the same, whether you're dropping a feather or launching a rocket, these persuasion principles work the same, whether you're selling a $10 product or a $10,000 service or a $100,000 service. Now, here's the formula. Are you ready? Here's the formula for persuasion. Success equals emotion plus logic over resistance. Success equals emotion plus logic over resistance. Write that down. That should be in your workbook. Let me just check. Yes, it's in your workbook, okay? Also write this down in your workbook. Universal laws cannot be broken, they can only be mastered. They cannot be broken, they can only be mastered, all right? So, let's go through some techniques quickly in this workbook. You're gonna fill them out. Now grab your, guys, you're gonna have to be quick. Grab your workbook because I wanna keep them moving and grooving. So you're gonna grab your workbooks and you're gonna fill in the blanks. Starting at opening techniques. Does everybody, just comment, let me know when you guys have it. Got it, okay. I'll give you guys a second. All right. Problem first framework. Start by immediately addressing a problem the audience faces. That's where you fill in the blank. Problem. Okay? Example. Many of you think that something you struggled with, many of you can think of something you struggled with for years. So, hey, you struggled with this for years. Maybe you struggle with that for years. Emotional so number 2 is emotional resonance. Fill that in, emotional resonance. After stating the problem, describe the emotional experience of having that problem. After stating the problem, describe the emotional experience of having that problem. Help the audience feel understood by articulating their frustrations. Example, you're mad at yourself. You're frustrated, okay? That's number 2, emotional resonance. After stating the problem, describe the emotional experience of having that problem. Help the audience feel understood by articulating their frustrations. You guys got it? Number 3, universal experience connection. Universal experience connection. You know what, Joe? You know what might be easier for them? Can you Slack me my day 3 Dan's version real quick? I'll put it up on the iPad. That might actually be better.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this will be better for you guys instead of just, that way you can see it. Would you guys like to see it instead? Yeah? Okay, good. I'll do that for you. No worries. We're all friends here. All right, shoot it over to me, Joe.
Yep.
Where's it at? Okay. All right, I'm gonna bring it up on the screen here. I meant the actual PDF. Can you please put the PDF in? This will do, this will do. Okay.
I'm doing both. Just
All right.
however you want it. That way you have both.
Yep. Okay, here we go. All right, so principles. Universal laws can't be broken, only mastered. Success is emotion, it's logic over resistance. Opening techniques. Start by immediately addressing a problem the audience faces. A problem. Next, emotional resonance. After stating the problem, describe the emotional experience of having that problem. Help the audience feel understood by articulating their frustrations. Example, you're mad at yourself. You're frustrated. Number 3, universal experience connection. Reference experiences everyone has had. Makes content feel personal while applying broadly. Example, we've all been around people living a better life than us. Storytelling. Don't just tell stories, frame them as examples or discoveries. Instead of let me tell you my story, use let me show you how I discovered this. Very simple shift. Makes the story about the audience's benefit rather than the speaker. Nobody cares about you. They care about what you can do for them. Scene acting. Act out common scenarios your audience experiences. Physically demonstrate their emotional states. If they're frustrated, like literally be frustrated on camera, okay? Creates deeper relatability through performance. You're performing what they're experiencing. It's very powerful. Story problem connection. Every story should tie directly to the main problem or solution. Use universal experiences in stories to maintain relatability. Language techniques, soundbite creation. Create simple, memorable phrases people can repeat. Keep them short and impactful. Example, change your story, change your life. That's a Tony Robbins thing, okay? These spread naturally through word of mouth. So guys, just fill in the blanks, soundbite creation. So that first blank is repeat. The second one is short and impactful. You guys got it? All right, the redefinition technique. Redefine common terms to shift perspective. So we want to redefine terms that they may be unaware or they may have a different meaning behind them, all right? Redefine common terms. Redefine common terms, all right. Question echoing. Voice the questions audience members are asking themselves. Make them feel understood. It creates that's me moments. Example, how do I lose this weight? How do I make this money? That's me. So fill in the blanks, asking themselves, and that's me. Structural techniques. Rule of 3, present information in groups. I'm just realizing there's a lot of fill in the blanks here. I'll make this simpler next time. Rule of 3, present information in groups of 3. Humans process information in threes more easily. Example, 3 keys to a breakthrough. Hook creation, make statements that create questions in the audience's mind. Example, when you start with strategy, you've made a huge mistake. That's something Tony says. Makes the audience want to keep listening for answers. So fill that in, okay? No, guys, I want you to fill this in. Trust me, you will retain this way better if you fill it in. This is when I attended a seminar and I learned a lot of this stuff, the reason I learned it was because I physically wrote it with a pen. And the stuff that I didn't, I forgot. I had to go back and spend hours watching replays. But the stuff I physically wrote with the pen, I didn't forget. Even if I lost the workbook. Validation switch. When criticizing something, validate its importance. Then explain why it needs to be done differently. Prevents defensive reactions. I believe in strategies, but when you start with strategy, that's from that Tony Robbins pitch. All right, now there's some advanced tactics here. Party proof. Show evidence that others are already participating. Create social proof and FOMO. So for instance, do you guys remember when I during my presentation, I turned my ringer on, I had the phone going off, showing that people were applying for the program as I was pitching it. Do you guys remember that? You guys remember that? That's called party proof, okay? You need to have party proof. I've done several versions of that multiple times in my career in different ways, and it just works really good. Price justification. Compare your price to relatable reference points. Make larger amounts feel reasonable through contrast. Like Tony, in his pitch, said people wouldn't sit for a 3-hour movie someone spent $300 million on. All right? And by the way, this is from a pitch breakdown. These tactics are from the Tony Robbins pitch breakdown. Scientific backing. Includes scientific terms or concepts. Adds credibility to emotional arguments. Examples, use the term scotoma to explain blind spots. All right? Implementation tips. Make it personal. Content doesn't need to apply to only one person. It needs to feel like it applies to only one person. I do have to, you guys can watch the recordings later. I want to make sure I get to everything. So I'll definitely make the workbook shorter next time. That's my bad. Build irrefutable points. Use facts or experiences that cannot be argued with. Example, statistics about obesity rates creates a foundation of trust. Simplify complex ideas. Break down difficult concepts into simple frameworks. Example, you're doing the right things in the wrong order. Makes transformation feel achievable. Now, if you forget everything else, here's all you have to remember, guys. Key principles. This is really all you have to remember. The that's me principle. If you can get people to say that's me throughout your presentation, it's a lock. It creates multiple moments of recognition, and when people keep identifying with your content, conversion becomes easier. Soundbite strategy. People won't remember 90% of your pitch. They'll remember quotable moments and sound bites. Sound bites should be engineered to be easily repeated to others, okay? Handling existing solutions objection. People often say, I already have a coach. I'm focused on something else right now. Counter the point by pointing out if their current solution was working, they wouldn't be there. The presence of their problem proves they need a new solution. So you frame it that way, all right? Emotional safety management. If you appear intimidating, like Tony's physical presence, balance it with humor. When showing intensity or anger, follow it with something lighter. It helps maintain audience comfort while still being powerful. The demo effect. Always demonstrate the transformation or result. Show evidence of success in action. Let people see what they're buying before they buy it. Boy, there's a lot here, I just realized. Hidden product bridge. Build a path where the solution requires something the audience doesn't have. Position your product or service as the missing piece. Example, you can't succeed with strategy alone. You need the right state first. Everything is a pitch principle. All communication is essentially a pitch. From stage presentations to parenting. You know the airplane? When you, that is a pitch. to get your kids to eat vegetables. Understanding this helps you apply persuasion techniques everywhere. Multi-audience targeting. Address different segments simultaneously. Some of you are in a tough place, some in a great place, but you want more. Allows you to capture a bit wider of an audience while maintaining the personal feel. And notes, okay? All right, couple things here. Look, universal laws can't be broken, only mastered. Just like Newton didn't invent gravity, we didn't invent persuasion. Both can be studied, measured, and mastered. What Newton did for physics, I like to do for persuasion. That's what I do. That's what, an impact and influence. Tony Robbins said success leaves clues. Well, Dan Henry says success only leaves clues, but wisdom leaves blueprints. All right? All right, so let's see here. Guys, here's what I'm gonna do. I wanna make sure we get through everything today. So here's what I'm gonna do, if you guys don't mind. I might cut a few sessions, but if I do, I will record those sessions and post them in the group. How does that sound? Because I wanna cover the good stuff. It's all good, but some of this stuff takes longer. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I'll probably do the $1 Million Morning. I'll record that because that's something that's just tips for your morning before your presentation.
Which one did you say?
The $1 Million Morning. Don't worry, I'll.
You'll send it to me?
Yeah, I got it. All right.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah, there'll be 2 or 3 sessions that I'll record tomorrow or something and post in there. No worries. Okay. All right. All right. All right, let's talk about the flow state formula. Presenting from a place of power. What if I told you your deepest shame, your biggest mistake is actually your superpower of influence? In 2008, Dave Ramsey, actually, he stood before an audience and he admitted he'd once gone bankrupt. Now that's a hard thing for most people to admit. That total failure, though, has now built him a $200 million empire. Why? Because his darkest moment became his greatest source of connection. So, to give you an example of this, many of you guys think that you don't have a story to tell, or you don't know how to be authentic, or maybe you don't have a lot there. But believe it or not, your flaws are some of the greatest things that you can use in building your brand. So, for instance, I'm a big science guy, okay? So did you know what diamonds are actually made out of? You know what? Does anybody know what diamonds are made out of? Rock, but you know, carbon. So here's the thing. Diamonds are formed under intense pressure through violent trauma to basic carbon. Without that pressure, that pain, they would remain normal graphite, which is worth nothing. Okay? However, when you have the formula of pressure plus time equals power, you get, what do you get? You get diamonds. Okay? So diamonds are formed under intense pressure. So is a brand. So is a person of influence. Your struggles are not flaws. They're the pressure that transform you into something extraordinary. Everybody that you've seen build a big brand, they built it based off of intense pressure over time, which gave them their power. Okay? Does this make sense? Yeah, that's why it's so shiny, exactly. Now look, if you're anything like me, you've at least once in your life abandoned a perfectly good idea or a perfectly good business or a perfectly good offer because you got bored or you thought you weren't good enough or something like that, all right? That's me. I have so many times I've given up on something because I got bored, even though it was good. And I don't believe this creative itch is necessarily your enemy, but it is a test of your true potential. So I just have some tips for you on this. The greatest way that you can present from a place of power is to share your kryptonite. Find stories that resonate with you, that you're passionate about. Instead of thinking about what to say, focus on your own experiences and how they guide your message. So for instance, I will tell you this. One flaw of mine is that I don't think what I do is good enough. And Joe, I'll literally get with Joe and I'll be like, this is terrible. And he'll be like, what are you talking about, bro? People love it, right? Or I'll do too much. Like even I did this event. This is the first time we've done this challenge. I put too much stuff in it. I like to teach. I like to give. Well, sometimes that's bad because I give too much. And then it's just overwhelming. And that's a fundamental persuasion thing that is a bad thing to do. And I still do it. I've still done 8 figures with my business. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But here's what I'll tell you. It is day 3 and you are still here. You're still here. This shows your commitment to turning what you do into a success, to turning your story into a success. You're already presenting from a place of power because only those with power would still be here. The only reason you are still here is because there's something that happened to you. There's something that happened in your life. There is some experience you had or some deep down flaw that you had that has given you enough pain, enough suffering that you are motivated enough to do something to change the world. Because I hate to say it, but everybody that I've ever met who has accomplished great things, they had a lot of pain. They had a lot. Think of the best musicians. Why are they the best musicians? Because they're writing songs about incredibly painful moments. Most people who changed the world paid a hefty price to do it. But there are so many people out there who have paid that price and they have not got the reward. Do not let that be you. Do not let that be you. Because whatever happened to you, whatever horrible trials you've gone through, I promise you, you can take those and you can turn that into something great. You can turn that into a story that builds your brand, that gives you massive influence, that builds your business, that makes you a big deal and allows you to leave your mark on the world. So if that bad thing is gonna happen to you, fine, it happened. Don't let it sit there and not be able, don't let it ruin your life. Use it to build your life. That's what you need to do with that. Think about that. When you go home, when you go to sleep tonight, I want you to think about that because I've had to think about that. I used to not share my flaws. Terrible, terrible thing to do. Something terrible happened to you, take its power away. Use it. Use it. Okay? All right. All right, here we go. This one's short. This one's really good. The science of energy, how brain chemistry affects your sales power. Did you know that professional skiers, when you're skiing down a slope, okay, here's the slope. And here's these really wacky trees. All right, here's the skier. Professional skiers, they're trained to never look at the trees. Never look at the trees when they're skiing down, okay? In 1994, Olympic skier Picabo Street was recovering from a devastating crash. Her coach noticed she kept staring at the gates that she was trying to avoid. He told her, stop looking at what you're afraid of hitting. After shifting her focus to the open path, she went on to win the 1998 Olympics. It's pure physics, guys. Your eye, your body, so here's your body. Your body follows your eyes. If you look at the tree, you're gonna hit the tree. But if you look at the path, you're gonna avoid the trees and make it through. But if you look at the tree, you're gonna hit the tree. The same thing happens in sales. Because look, what's happening is your eyes, they fixate on the obstacles and they create micro adjustments that your body follows. The same happens in sales. Focus on failure and you'll unconsciously steer towards it. Focus on the path to success and your actions naturally align with that trajectory. If whether you're on a sales call or you're presenting like I am, if you sit there and think, oh my God, what if nobody buys? What if nobody buys? Oh, this guy's not gonna buy. It's not gonna buy. Oh, okay? You are going, that energy is gonna happen. You're gonna lead yourself towards that natural conclusion. Guys, I know I suck at writing on a whiteboard. I've been doing this for years. It has not gotten better. Now I could sit here and I could go, look at this mess. That you can't even tell that's a skier. What kind of tree is that? Okay? This is, and I could be like, nobody's gonna buy from me because this sucks. And then I end up, and then you guys are like, well, he's not confident. If he's not confident, I'm not confident to buy. So then you don't buy. But if I focus on screw that, what I teach is good, I guess I just can't draw very well. Then that confidence comes through. And trust me, if I can make now 15 sales without a sales call doing this with this chicken scratch, because trust me, this sucks. I understand. I get it. I suck at drawing. I totally understand. Listen, here's a quote. Tony Robbins says, where focus goes, energy flows. Dan Henry says, if you want to grow, know where the focus doesn't go. It certainly doesn't go on failure. Okay? Certainly doesn't go on failure. So, write that in your workbook. If you want to grow, know where focus doesn't go. And focus does not go on failure. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and skip the $1 Million Morning. This really is just optimization for before you do any sort of speaking. I'm gonna post this in the group and you guys can have that later, okay? Let me get some sleep, I'll post it tomorrow. And what I'll do is I'll leave this in the group. It won't go away on Sunday. I'll leave this session in the group. All right. Okay, this one's great. So, fix the fear, strategies to, by the way, Joe, I wanna make sure we're still on time and on track for David J. Phillips, who's gonna be speaking at 3 o'clock. You're muted, Joe.
We're on target since you made those cuts. So just keep
Okay, so how many hours do I have?
You have 3 hours until that.
Oh, okay. Well, if I get done early, I'll teach it. Okay, so fix the fear. Guys, I understand that you can be very afraid to present, even to record a simple video to put content out. Did you know that 75% of people fear public speaking more than death? Did you know that? That means at a funeral, most people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. Isn't that freaking wild? What else is wild is where my pen is. I lost my pen. Okay, so here, let me show you something really cool. I've been waiting to show this because there's my pen. I remember about 7 years ago, I saw these two videos. They're very short, they're like 30 seconds. I saw them and I was fascinated by the massive difference. The massive difference. Okay, so let me show you this real quick. So, y'all tell me who this is.
That'd be good. You need to tell me where the restroom is too, because I'm deathly ill actually and ready to throw up at any moment. So.
Good. It's right across the hall.
Great. I'm not joking.
We're ready to go, gentlemen. New York's waiting for a shot now.
God.
So that was Steve Jobs, who burps on camera and then says he's going to throw up. And you know, I resonate with that very much, because one time I burped, wasn't thinking, and I just completely burped, like this really nasty burp on camera, on live, and it was very embarrassing. And then I'll tell you my most embarrassing moment. So just because I'm weird, when I set up my iPhone, you know how you can tell your iPhone what to call you? I was just, I thought it was a cool feature, so I was like, call me Mr. Awesome, right? And one time, and I just did it as a funny thing, and I completely forgot about it, right? And so if I say to my phone, what's my name? It'll say, you asked me to call you Mr. Awesome. Actually, I wonder if it still does it. Hold on. What's my name?
It's Dan Von Geneff.
No. Okay, yeah. So no, it asked me to, hold on. Maybe it was this phone. Okay, so I don't know what phone it was. Maybe I had a other phone, but it said Mr. Awesome. Okay, and I'm on stage. This was a live event. It wasn't a virtual event. I'm on stage, and literally, I'm like, I was holding my phone, and I was like, I just made a joke. I was like, what's my name? And it goes, your name is Dan, but you asked me to call you Mr. Awesome, in front of the whole crowd. And I was just like, what? And it was very embarrassing. So it happens. These things happen, right? And that man that you just saw, watch this.
One of the greatest jobs of marketing the universe has ever seen is Nike. Remember, Nike sells a commodity. They sell shoes. And yet, when you think of Nike, you feel something different than a shoe company. In their ads, as you know, they don't ever talk about the product. They don't ever tell you about their air soles and why they're better than Reebok's air soles. What does Nike do in their advertising? They honor great athletes, and they honor great athletics. That's who they are. That's what they are about. Apple spends a fortune on advertising. You'd never know it. You'd never know it.
Okay. So the reason I show you that is, do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? Okay, so let me explain something here, because hold on. Sorry about the phones, guys. See, this kind of stuff's happening. It's Joe. Joe, stop texting me in the middle of a presentation. Okay, so here's what it is. This is the process. Okay, so the process is simple. Fear, understanding, mastery. Now, what do I mean by that? Mastery is being so good at something that you can get results with little to no effort. That's what it means, okay? So, for instance, fear, like I remember when I first started boxing and I got in the ring for the first time and I thought, I'm gonna get my ass kicked, right? That's fear. But then I trained boxing and I understood how to keep distance, how to protect myself, how to throw a jab. Oh, you're coming at me? I can jab and get you away. Same thing with jiu-jitsu. I learned how to pull guard. I learned how to defend. I learned how to defend chokes. Like I remember I used to get choked out all the time. I don't know if any of y'all do grappling or jiu-jitsu. I used to get choked out by a rear naked choke all the time. And then I had a black belt one time teach me this amazing trick where you take your hand and you just grab the knuckles of the guy that is trying to choke you, and you just grab the knuckles, and when you grab these front knuckles, and when you grab it and pull, it just immediately removes the choke. So unless they already have it synced in, as soon as they start going for it, you grab the knuckles, you remove it. You grab, and you just keep doing this. And I've been choked out, at least with that choke, very rarely since. I've literally had black belts on my back trying to rear naked choke me, and I've defended it for 10 minutes until I eventually got out. Doesn't happen every time, but 95% of the time I can defend a rear naked choke. I mean, I'm sure if it was like Khabib or something, I'd be screwed. But the point is, I gained an understanding of how to defend that choke. And so I was no longer afraid when I got in that position. And then I repped it so much that now I'm so confident that I can remove that arm that I don't freak out when I get in that position, which makes it a lot easier to actually get out of that position. So, yeah, it's the joint in your finger right here. So, fear, I'm gonna get my ass kicked. Understanding, distance, whatever, grab the knuckles. Mastery, doing it so many times that I can just, all right? Fear, I'm not gonna sell anything or I'm gonna look stupid. No one will come to my event. Understanding, this is the highest converting method of sale. So if I do it even 30% right, even 20% right, I will make sales. If my presentation is a nuts and bolts offer and I choose the right nuts and bolts offer, I will get people in the room. I will validate it first with a book. I'll make it, if they buy the book, they'll buy tickets. Now I understand this. Now, when I go to practice it, maybe I do pretty good on my first event. I do better on my second event. I do great on my fifth event, and I just keep doing it. I found something good to say, so I say it often enough, sales become effortless. This is the process to getting rid of the fear for anything. When I was afraid to fly, I had a fear. Then I took flying lessons. I understood why the plane shakes and what turbulence actually was. And then I'm now able to get on a plane for 16 hours and fly to America when I want. I've mastered getting on a plane and not being afraid. So I just get on and go. Fear, understanding, mastery. But you cannot get rid of the fear without the understanding. You cannot build confidence, you can only build competence. Confidence is the natural byproduct of confidence. So, workbook, write this down. Fear doesn't fade with motivation, it fades with mastery. Fear does not fade with motivation, it fades with mastery. Confidence is a natural byproduct of competence. Confidence is not something you build, it's something that happens during mastery. So the reason I tell you this, exactly, do it afraid. The reason I tell you this is because you cannot get rid of the fear until you commit to mastery. And when you commit to mastery, that's when you decide to understand. And you go through the process of understanding. The reason why people get stuck is because they think that when they have fear, it means that they can't even try to master. It means that they can't even try to understand. But the thing required to get rid of the fear is the understanding to mastery. So this is why you get in this never-ending loop of not achieving your goals, because you got it backwards. You think the fear stops you from this. No, this is what gets rid of the fear. Does this make sense? Okay, awesome. All right, that's how you fix fear, through mastery, period. All right. All right, this is very important. Why being relatively unknown is actually your greatest advantage. You need to stop trying to compete with the big brands in your industry. Because look, believe it or not, they're secretly trying to copy you, and I can prove it. The world's most successful brands are desperately trying to appear smaller right now. Meanwhile, you're trying to appear bigger. One of us is making a $100 million mistake. So, have you guys ever seen when like a big brand tries to feel personal? Have you guys ever noticed that? They try to feel personal in their marketing. Your customers, like people can kind of smell that fakeness a mile away. You have something those big brands can never buy. You do. 5 years from now, you're gonna look back at this moment and realize that being unknown was not your greatest weakness, it was your secret weapon. Let me show you why. So, in the 1980s, when Howard Schultz was building Starbucks, he was not trying to compete with like high-end cafes, okay? He went to Milan and he noticed that cafes were completely different. It was a completely different experience than it was in America. And so he had this idea to create what he called the third place. Now, what's the third place? The third place, you have work, you have home, and then you have a third place, Starbucks. Now, what does that mean? So, when you went to Starbucks then, instead of an automated coffee machine, you would hear the whoosh. They would write your name on the cup. The barista would know you by name, and they made the actual coffee shop so comfortable that you could sit for hours on end and enjoy coffee and spend money, and it was like your third place from home and work. They weren't selling coffee. That's why they sold a lot of coffee. And believe me, I'm just gonna say it, Starbucks tastes like burnt ass. It's terrible coffee. It's the worst coffee I've ever had. And they were very successful because nobody bought Starbucks for their coffee. They bought it then. They went to Starbucks because it was the third place. So I love not being as big as Tony, as Russell, as Grant Cardone. I love it. As Marie Forleo. I can text my clients. I don't think Russell does that. I don't think Tony does that. I know Tony doesn't do that. Grant doesn't do that. Because they're huge. We're not like them. They're up here, okay? We're not there, all right? I can text my clients. So, here's the thing. I want you to imagine for a moment, because what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to not do this because you think the audience thing is holding you back, all right? So let me give you an example here. Imagine that, fellas, this is only for the fellas, okay? This little analogy is only for the fellas. So guys, I need you for this one, all right? Let's say that you have two doctors, and this is Dr. A, okay? And he's got his little doctor hat, right? This is Dr. A, okay? And Dr. A is a delivery doctor. Your wife's pregnant. She's gonna have a baby. You guys are deciding what doctor you want to deliver the baby. Now, Dr. A is very, very experienced, okay? He has 5-star reviews. He is not expensive. He's actually quite reasonable. And he has a lot of awards and accolades for being a doctor. And he has, thousands of deliveries. Thousands of deliveries. Okay? Dr. B Dr. B is new. He's younger. He is new. He is not as experienced. He doesn't have as good of reviews, or he doesn't, he has minimal reviews, minimum reviews, right? He doesn't have as much experience. Okay? Or sorry, expensive. He's more expensive. Sorry. He's more expensive. So he's actually more expensive than this doctor. He has few awards, if any. And he has only like maybe a couple hundred deliveries versus thousands. Okay? Dr. A, Dr. B. Now, fellas, Dr. A is experienced, Dr. B is new. Dr. A has 5-star reviews, Dr. B has minimal. Dr. A is not expensive, Dr. B is expensive. Dr. A has awards, Dr. B has few awards. Dr. A has thousands of deliveries, Dr. B only has a few hundred. Which doctor do you go with, fellas? Dr. A or Dr. B? Dr. A. Of course, you guys go with Dr. A. Now, wait a second. Let's change the scenario with one itty bitty little teeny tiny change. You go to Dr. A, you go to Dr. B. After you get out of the office of Dr. B, you get in the car with your wife. You're sitting in the car, you're about to turn it on. You look at your car, you look at your wife, and you say, well, what'd you think? You know, you've already made up your mind. You're like, well, Dr. A, of course. And your wife goes, you know what? Dr. B, I don't know what it was, but I connected with him. Like, I just felt really comfortable with him. Now, fellas, what doctor are you going with? B, B, B. If you want to have another baby, you're going with B, okay? Now, why? Psychologically, why? Why? Happy wife, happy life. Why? Because Dr. B made your one thing that trumped all of this. He made her more comfortable. Starbucks has terrible coffee. It sucks. If you drink Starbucks willingly, we might be friends, but I'm gonna question your choices. It's bad coffee, okay? Or maybe you just haven't had the opportunity to have good coffee. But Starbucks is a huge business, and they became a huge business because of the third place. They made you comfortable while you were at Starbucks. Now, here's the thing. Here's a quote to fill in your workbook. The greatest connections aren't built on perfections. They're built on proximity. In business, being close matters more than being known. You want to lean into your disadvantages and make them advantages. Now look, when you get bigger, and maybe you cannot give that level of comfort, that's why I don't like to get too big, then you have that advantage. But in the beginning, you still have the advantage of you can make your customer more comfortable than the big brand who they're not going to feel as connected to. Grant Cardone once told me, your greatest asset is your greatest liability, and your greatest liability can be your greatest asset. And so here's what I want you to do. Not only do I want you to realize that you can do this when you're small, but I want you to clear the path for the rest of the things that are stopping you from doing the thing you've already wanted to do this whole time. The thing, it doesn't have to be a paid presentation, just putting yourself out there, building your business, and committing to this. So grab your workbook, and I want you to list your admissions, okay? So I'll give you an example. I have an admission. I constantly think I'm not good at what I do. That flaw that I have, I constantly think that I am not, I really do. Like, do you guys think I'm pretty good at this? Do you guys think I'm okay? Okay, I don't think that. I can tell you right now, I've made at least 50 mistakes that I could literally bullet point out on you during this presentation, tons of mistakes that I've made. And to me, making 50 mistakes is horrible. So my admission is that I constantly think I am not good at what I do. Now, the asset version of that is this drives me to be better. And it has always driven me to be better in my life. The liability is this limits me from doing it more. Because many times I have done something and it was good enough, but I thought it could be better, and so I shelved it, or I spent too much time on it, or I overdid it. Like I overdid this challenge, too much stuff. I'll make the next one less stuff, I'll condense it, right? So I constantly think I'm not good at what I do. The asset version of this is it drives me to be better. The liability is this limits me from doing it more. The thing you need to do is be so self-aware that you know what your admissions are, and you can focus on making them assets rather than liabilities. Lean into the asset version of it and lean away from the liability. So in your workbook, just do it for a minute. List your admissions. So write your admission here, and then here. So list your admission, the asset version of it, and the liability. Okay? That's what you do. So let me give you guys 5 minutes to think about this and give your brains a break. How does that sound? And it'll give my voice a break. Okay.
2.5 hours in, do a little Fiverr.
All right. right, guys. So then I'll just quickly show this. I think some people said they wanted the key principles. So I'm going to show that for 1 second. Guys, make sure you grab that. All right, so the next session, we're going to really get into some nitty gritty stuff. We're going to talk about how to generate free traffic that actually converts into customers. This one is going to blow your minds. It's really going to blow your minds. It'll really show you how to create free traffic for your business. So before I do that, I want to address something. Many people here sell many different things. And some of you sell coaching or consulting. Some of you have an agency and some of you are professionals, like maybe you're a lawyer or a doctor or you're a CPA. Would you guys like to know a little bit more about how this all works for like a professional and what it's like to use some of this stuff if you're a professional, okay? So I just got a message from one of my clients who's been a client of mine in the past who I've worked with personally. His name's Merrill, and he's a CPA, and he has a very successful tax preparation company and CPA company, and he has worked with me, and he's used some of the stuff that I've taught you, persuasion tactics and marketing tactics and things like that in both his in his business and in some side businesses as well. Merrill, are you on? He was gracious enough to come share for a second. So let's make him a panelist.
Yep, bringing them on right now.
Hello.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Let me make it where you're when you talk, you show up. Hey, long time no talk. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, brother. I remember we were at dinner in St. Pete. Dude, it's good to see you again. So yeah, I just, I want to make sure that the people here understand that a lot of these things work, regardless of the business you're in. And I know you've worked with me in the past, and I would just like you to take a minute and share what that looks like and how it applies to your tax preparation company.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely has changed my business and really life for us. So when we started working together, the business was kind of stuck. Like I had started it and had grown it to a certain level. I'd spent 5 or 6 years kind of growing it to that level, and it was stuck. And so we just didn't have the right messaging, just didn't have the right things that were going on, didn't have the right pitch. And so we worked together. We got that pitch down and refined. And then I was able to take that, and then it wasn't like an overnight thing, but little by little, I started getting bigger and better clients and changing that messaging, that pitch. It really started to take off. Like once we started working together and we got that pitch down and I sent that out, our firm doubled the next year. It grew so much that when I renewed my insurance, the insurance company said, "It looks like you bought another firm. Please fill out this form to tell us what firm you bought." I said, "I didn't buy another firm. We just grew that much. We just did that well." And so like, okay. And then from there, we've doubled since then as well. And, like I said, so we went from doing like $300 tax returns. Now we're doing like $50,000 tax plans. We're working with people making $1 million or more. Our pitch and messaging has got so good that just a couple weeks ago, we had an executive from Intuit, which makes TurboTax and QuickBooks. This guy has access to CPAs all over the country. He found me online because of what we have and online. And so he came to us out of the cold, out of the blue, and just liked our messaging and our pitch so much that he came and became a client of ours. And he's like a $4 million a year, owns $40 million in real estate, and he's like a perfect client. So yeah, we're getting him on a $50,000 tax plan to save him hundreds of thousands in taxes. And so, yeah, that wouldn't have happened had we not worked with you and kind of refined that pitch and got it better and better over years. So yeah, thanks.
Wow, awesome, brother. Awesome. That's amazing. That's great. And look, I want to point out that, you know, the difference between a lot of people and Merrill, like Andy and all this, is that, you know, when I worked with Merrill, buddy, when I worked with you, you were like, you were there, you were present, you know, and I liked digging in and I liked being able to really work on this because, you know, a lot of people, they don't do the work and you do the work. And so I'm very, very happy for you. You let me know when you're in Dubai. Okay. If you happen to come to Dubai, we got to hook up. I haven't seen you in a minute. All right. Are you going to be at FHL?
Maybe that's right in the middle of tax season. So we'll see. It's kind of a busy time, but I might make it there a little bit for a couple days.
All right. If you happen to go, you let me know. We'll link up. We'll have a coffee or something. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Absolutely. Merrill, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And I just wanted you to be able to share because, you know, a lot of people believe that this only applies to like coaching or courses or something, but it just so happens that the people who are in the industry who are the best at this, like Russell, like Tony, like Grant, that just happens to be what they sell. But if you just kind of look out, you'll see some of the biggest, like the doctors and stuff. I mean, there are look at Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil made a whole friggin' TV show out of what he does. And I don't even know if that guy's a real doctor, you know? So there's these principles of influence that apply whether you're a professional, you're an agency, you sell information, because it's either you do it for them, with them, easier or faster. And I'm so glad you raised your prices and now you're doing like $50,000 tax plan. I told you, man. I told you that's the key. You get the right clients, you get the ideal clients, and then you need this many clients versus this many clients. And then there's just so much less stress.
Yeah, it's really changed, everything we do. And so grateful that we found you, started working with. It's been almost 5 years. So it was the 2020 FHL when I first learned about you. We joined your program shortly after that. And to this day, we still go back to that core program when we're doing like a website or we're doing something. Just there's so much good information in there, and we go back to the principles that we learned working together. Like it's tried and true stuff that will always work and always bring in clients and money. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Brother, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on and sharing. Give Merrill a big virtual round of applause. Clap emojis, okay? All right, awesome. Thank you, brother. Thank you for coming on. Okay. So, where are we at here? Free traffic. Who doesn't want free traffic? How to generate free traffic that actually converts. This is essential. Now, let me guys ask you a quick question. Let's just say for a moment that you built out your presentation, right? And all it did was give you all of your marketing content, all of your ad content, all of your social media content, literally all of your marketing content for the rest of your life. Would that be worth building a paid presentation? Would that alone be worth it? Angela says yes, totally. Okay, well, here's the part that's gonna blow your mind. I want you guys to tell me very quickly who this is, okay? So real quick, let me bring up the photo here. Who's that? Let me know in the chat, who is that? Who is that? Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse? You guys think that's Mickey Mouse? Really? No. No, that's Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. That's Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Y'all didn't know that? Really? So here's the thing. In 1928, Walt Disney was on the verge of bankruptcy. Do you know why? Because he lost the rights to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Now, instead of creating an entirely new content, here's what he decided to do. He decided to take his core message of bringing happiness and joy through animation and simply transformed Oswald into Mickey. Now that one character concept was repurposed into cartoons, merchandise, theme parks, and eventually built a $200 billion empire. Disney did not create new messages. He simply mastered one and repurposed it across multiple channels. So, I want you to think of your paid presentation as a water droplet, okay? It drops and it creates this effect and it ripples out. You see, all the stuff that I'm teaching you here today, I didn't just, this Google Doc, this workbook that I have right here, or this lesson, this lesson plan that I just threw across the room, this not only gives me everything I need for this presentation, but it gives me everything I need for the future of my content. My YouTube, you guys notice my YouTube channel? How many of y'all here watch my YouTube channel? Okay? How many of y'all watch the pitch breakdowns, the Mickey, the M&M story, the story of the Diamond Company, okay? All of that follows, it's all of that. In fact, some of the same stuff I've said in here. The roast, so I do those during VIP. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, okay? So my entire content strategy, my entire plan, everything that I do, my ads, everything revolve around this one Google Doc. And whenever I come up with a new flagship offer, just make, like, if you guys ever attended any of my previous challenges, you'll notice that all of my content was me basically saying very similar things. I didn't teach anything. I teach the stuff on I teach the stuff on the challenge, but the analogies and the examples I used and things like that, I repurposed those. So, if each one of these spirals is like YouTube, Instagram, etc., once you build this out, you have everything you need to make content. And look, you can make new content, right? Like, I could share the Colonel Sanders story instead of the McDonald's story and make the same point. I could share a lot of different, you get a blueprint from everything you need to say and do for the rest of your career, or at least the rest of the life of that offer. In 2007, Steve Jobs spent over 100 hours rehearsing just one iPhone presentation. And his team was worried about all this crazy stuff. And you know what he was doing? He literally was sitting there practicing swipe to unlock, because that was the core of his presentation, swipe to unlock. He practiced that hundreds of times to make sure that it was flawless. The result, one little thing, crafted a presentation that just didn't launch a product to revolutionize how we think about phones. So if you think about it, right? This is a very simple analogy, but let's just say that you have a target, okay? And here you are, you're an archer, right? Now, if you have an arrow that's bent like this, you can fire that arrow 100 times, 1,000 times, and you're never gonna hit the freaking target. But if you have a straight arrow, you have a insanely higher chance of hitting that target. Wouldn't you agree? You might not hit it on the first try, but the bent arrow or the straight arrow, which one do you think is easier to hit the target? The bent or the straight? Here's the problem. Most of you guys, do you know why you're struggling? It's because you keep shooting a bent arrow. But if you had a straight arrow, you could hit this target a lot faster. When I create a presentation, I've already created my ads, my content. Guys, we literally took that YouTube, did you guys watch that epic pitch YouTube video? We cut it up and made ads out of it. And the ads brought dozens and dozens of ticket sales into this event. Think about that. Yes, a straight arrow is, well, a straight arrow is not just a clear message, it's your whole presentation. So taking the time to build out this Google Doc not only gives you your presentation that'll get you clients, but it gives you all your marketing and all your content and everything you need and all your ads and everything. Gives you everything. It's great. Your message, this is in your workbook. So grab your workbook, okay? And your message isn't a net to catch everyone. It's a beacon to guide the right ones. Now, why do I say that? I just said that the title of this presentation is to create free content that actually converts people into customers. So think about this. If the presentation itself is designed to create people into customers, and people come on this presentation, and the content you do is repurposed sections and inspired from this presentation, then when you release free content and people resonate with it, it's the exact type of content they would resonate once they're in the paid room. And if it's the exact type of content they would resonate once they're in the paid room, and that content is specifically designed to make them a customer, then right now, you guys are all customers. You paid to be here. So if I put out free content that is a mirror of this, I'm attracting the people that resonate with content that they'll pay for. Does this make sense? Maybe I'm not explaining this good, but what I'm saying is that if you do something else, then maybe you get the wrong clients. But if you mirror what's going to happen in the room, imagine Tony Robbins put out content about, I don't know, like have you ever seen his YouTube videos? Have you ever seen the stuff he puts? It's very similar to what he does at his paid presentations. So by putting out very similar content, you attract the people who would want to buy a ticket to that content. This is where everything begins. It's not just your paid presentation, it's your entire brand. Your origin story, your brand identity and brand story, that's in here. That's the how I discovered the new path. It's everything. One powerful message is not multiplied by its creation, it's magnified by its distribution. That's in the workbook. One powerful message isn't multiplied by its creation, it's magnified by distribution. And this is another one. A message mastered once can be delivered forever, but a message delivered forever may never be mastered. Now, you might say, well, Dan, how do you do that, right? How do you do that? Well, let me show you a few frameworks. One of them, which you guys have probably learned if you've studied any of the Russell Brunson stuff, is hook, story, offer. You start with a hook, you tell a story, and then you make an offer. It's got to be a good story, it's got to be a good hook, it's got to be a good offer. But that's the framework. One of my frameworks is hook, value, offer. So I start with a hook, then I teach value, but the value is generally designed to remove the roadblock, and then I make the offer. The other one, which I love to do, is hook, analogy, which I just misspelled analogy, offer. Hook, analogy, offer. So what's a story? Here's where I was, here's what was happening, here's what was going on. What's value? Here's how to do this thing. What's an analogy? Here's how to think about this thing. Here's an example of how to think about this thing, right? Story, value, analogy. Mix them up. These are three simple frameworks. I've got some more advanced frameworks that work really well, but these are the ones that are easily implementatable. Now, here's what you can do. I personally like teaching on a whiteboard. Some people like slides. I like whiteboards because whiteboards are very simple. So you can start, whatever you're comfortable with. You want to do slides, do slide. You want to do web, you want to do just your mouth, that's fine. You want to do whiteboard, that's fine. But you can start testing this content with hook, story, offer, hook, value, offer, and hook, analogy, offer, and cycle your way through. This is how you influence, right? If you look, Tony Robbins starts with a hook, he tells a story, he makes an offer. Then sometimes he starts with a hook, he gives value and he makes an offer. And then other times he starts with a hook, he does a thought experiment or gives you an analogy and makes an offer. The offer could be to listen to the next thing. The offer could be to subscribe. The offer could be to buy a ticket to his, event, okay? So does everybody understand how when you create your paid presentation, which is just simply this is you want to know what your paid presentation is? It's a Zoom room. This is fancy, okay? We went fancy, but I didn't used to do it this fancy. It's your Google Doc plus a Zoom room and a whiteboard. That's your paid presentation, okay? Yeah. The content is the little breadcrumbs leading to the presentation. It provides direction towards where you want people to go. Right, so actually, Jonathan, thank you for that analogy. So just to make you guys understand it a little bit better, tell me a favorite, give me y'all give me some, here you go. So let's just say that, let's say this is a bottle of wine, okay? Bottle of wine, it's a expensive bottle of wine. And I want to sell a bunch of these expensive bottles of wine to a bunch of people who like to spend a lot of money on expensive wine and have the money to spend on expensive wine. What goes here? What goes here? I got a bunch of people I want to sell expensive wine that want expensive wine, they can afford expensive wine. What goes here? Come on. Thank you. A wine tasting. Now, who would attend a wine guys, who goes to a friggin' wine tasting that doesn't like wine? That isn't interested in wine? I'm sorry, but I'm not a wine guy, right? I don't drink alcohol. I don't like alcohol, but when I did, I liked whiskey. I liked bourbon. I don't like wine. So okay, if they did a bourbon tasting, I would absolutely go to that. In fact, one time I did, and I ended up buying a $300 bottle of bourbon. So not only does this show that if you leave the breadcrumbs to the main thing, and those things, look, if your content matches your paid presentation, you're leaving the exact breadcrumbs you need to attract presentation. And if you do it right, the people that go to that presentation are the people that buy the main thing. It's all flowing together. Now, here's the funny thing. What did we do here? John said, this is why my in the room. We said the right thing. This wine is from
Tak se řekne anglicky milujte.